Welcome everybody. My name is Jess McLaughlin. I am the co-chair of the First Gen initiative at Temple. So this is our junior and senior panel. We have some wonderful students with us to share their perspectives and their stories for their time during Temple. I just wanted to get started and introduce everybody a little bit. So we have Erin and Nil. She's a biology junior. We have Brittany Flynn. She's a biology senior, Spanish minor. And we have Joy Gonzalez, biology senior. Nick Sharp, biochemistry senior. And Yao Vu, a chemistry senior. And so they'll all share a little bit about their experiences at Temple. So I guess without further ado, Erin, do you want to get us started?
Of course. Hello, everyone. My name is Erin Anil. I'm a junior at Temple, and my major is biology. I'm a first-generation college student. It was only 3 years ago, my parents and my family migrated to the United States. Initially, even though I did my 1 year of college in India, I wasn't able to transfer all the credits, so I started my college all over in US. I did my associates from Community College of Philadelphia, associates in biology. So today I'd like to share an experience about my first semester at Temple, which was last semester, fall. So as every student, I came into the class. So the first day arrived. And my first class was general tech chemistry class session. It was at Bury 160. So as I entered the room, there was like 100 students. So I don't know whether all of you know about community college. I haven't seen a class more than 30 students. So I was shocked to see 100 students together, even though I was expecting that. Of course, it's a 4-year university. But in the pool of that, in the crowd, I felt all alone. I was, even though my expectations was to make a lot of friends, but seeing everything together and all the instructions by the instructor, by the professor going so fast, I felt it will be hard for me. And I thought, even though that I felt that way, I thought after a few weeks, I'll get better. And around 4 weeks passed by. It was almost time for midterms. I was still feeling shy to ask questions in class. I was getting overwhelmed. I was going to a depression where I would open a textbook and would literally cry. I wasn't able to study as I used to do at community college. So I don't know whether Jess, our host, she would remember, I emailed her telling everything. I'm not able to do this. I even thought to drop out of school. So she was there, and she emailed me back with a long passage giving different options, different resources that Temple offer, which included the counseling option, academic advising, and also tutoring sessions. So even though I took counseling, which was not from Temple, I had another source, because it was so much overwhelming for me. And I chose the academic tutoring option at Temple. That was definitely a game changer. So before me starting the tutoring session, academic counseling session, my physics midterm was over. I got a C for it. So I was not a bad student at community college, but getting a C, I thought, will I pass the class? And within the academic coaching session, they were able to provide me different methods in order to study, like how you can incorporate all your works in a week, the importance of making a plan, and all those things that helped me a lot. So slowly I was able to adapt to the college better. I started showing up for all this events that we have. I started easily adapting to the college, and at the end, I got A's for the class. I thought even I wouldn't even pass. So it was and I'm so grateful and I'm so proud of myself that I did not choose the wrong decision to drop out or whenever a struggle comes. So the um, op- only advice that I have to share with you all is whenever there is a struggle or whenever you feel struggle or you are placed in a situation where you feel like you want to give up, never give up. Uh, there are options for you to move on. Temple is a great university that provides a lot of resources, especially for a first generation student. And I know being a first generation student, for my case, I have to, my parents won't speak English. I have to take care of their appointments, have to deal with their all sort of paying of the utility, all those stuff. So doing all in all those struggles, there are resources that are there for us to help us, give us support, and giving up is not the solution. So nothing is impossible because the word itself says I'm possible, right? So with that positive thought, I'm ending my speech. Thank you.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much, Erin. Fantastic. All right, so I think we can have our next speaker, and that would be Brittany Flynn.
Hi, I'm Brittany. I'm a biology major, Spanish minor, senior. So I finished my Spanish minor. I'm done with that. Still working on the last couple weeks of the bio major, but I have my cap and gown. It's coming to a close. I recently committed to grad school, so that's exciting. I'm going to Queen's University in Belfast, Ireland for a year to get my master's in ecological management and conservation biology. Thank you for the congratulations. And yeah, so I think my experience as a first gen, I don't think I really realized how much it shaped my experience at Temple until I kind of saw this panel and started reflecting on it. Because for the first couple years, I was just pretending I knew what I was doing and just really thought that I was like going with the crowd and I knew everything. And as long as I was getting good grades in my classes, like nothing else mattered. And then I didn't realize it until kind of my junior, senior year when I realized I wanted to go into ecology, and I started going to networking events for ecology, and I started our chapter of Seeds, which is an ecology education club here at Temple, just trying to make academia accessible, that I realized how much I didn't know. I had no clue what I was expecting. So I was raised by a single mom. I have 1,000,001 siblings, not 9, but, and yeah, so I had no perspective on what college was like, and I had especially no perspective on what it meant to be in STEM, because I feel like that is a whole different world in a lot of ways. So I didn't know that I was supposed to be looking for research opportunities. I didn't know that I was supposed to be getting outside certifications. I had no clue what I was meant to be doing. That now I talk to people who I know who are third generation scientists, their family, and they're like, oh yeah, well, I did that freshman year. I knew to do that. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that was a thing until yesterday. So it really stuck out to me the most was at a conference I got sponsored to go to last summer for the Ecological Society of America. It was online, and there was all these networking sessions where I was asking other people who had applied to grad school, because this was before I applied, what to do and what I should do and what to look at. And they were like, oh, you're not done? You need to be done. I was done. And I was like, I am confused. I don't know what I'm doing. And I realized that that was where I had the most help, was when I was just brutally open and honest and was just saying, listen, I'm a first gen student. I do not know what it means to be a scientist. Really, if I'm honest about it, I don't know what it means to apply to grad school. I don't know what I'm doing. And the amount of people I had that immediately just kind of took a breath and went, you know what? I didn't either. And nobody helped me. And so I'm glad I can be here to help you. And so that's the one thing I think I took away from being a first gen, especially here at Temple, is that I've just started being really open about the fact that I don't know what I'm doing and I'm just going to tell people I don't know what I'm doing. And that I don't have any experience in this, because the amount of people that I've had come back to me and say, you know what, I didn't know what I was doing either. Thank you for asking that question, or thank you for speaking up, or I was in that same position a couple years ago. It's overwhelming. I think a lot of people are looking for the way to break the ice, to just kind of go, ah, we're all confused. So yeah, that's what really has helped me the most in my time here. And I'm looking forward to continuing to kind of be the first person in academia in my family and blaze a little pathway if I can.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. All right, so I think we can move right along. So Joy, would you like to share?
Sure. So hi, my name is Joy. I'm a senior biology major with a psych minor. So I'm also weeks away from finishing. I grew up with just my mom as well, and I didn't know much about college. I picked Temple just because I liked the flowers outside. So I really didn't know how much college becomes your life and shapes your life. So I'm pre-med. I've always wanted to be a doctor, but I don't know any doctors. A lot of my knowledge just came from the internet. And the internet told me that you're going to need good grades, volunteering, research, work experience, and shadowing. And it seemed so daunting, but I just took it one step at a time. I was like, okay, let me see if I can try and do this. So some difficulties I faced coming into college was, firstly, I was scared that I wouldn't do well academically because maybe I didn't have a good high school background. My high school wasn't ranked well. I never had like tutoring. So I would study like every day, but it was out of fear. It was not a good mental mindset because my worth kind of came from my grades. And now that I'm like older, I see that your value to med schools or grad programs, sure, grades are important, but it also comes from your story. Another difficulty I had was that, I don't have connections, networking. I didn't know what a student org was. So apparently those are very helpful. Those are also very important. You can get leadership positions. I never participated in those in high school. So I didn't really join a student org until much later in life, in college, but it's helpful now. So another disadvantage of not having connections is I knew I wanted to get medical, clinical experience, but I would ask people, well, how did you find your job? And they'd be like, oh, I was a family friend. And I'd be like, oh, that's not an option for me. But what helped me was just going out of my way to look up things online. Like Google was my best friend, Handshake, LinkedIn, and then also I vouched for the CST and PPHS emails, like the opportunity emails. I found my current job through there. I found a lot of things through there. I think it's really helpful. So that is one big piece of advice that I would give. Another thing was managing time. So I knew I needed to get extracurriculars. I wanted to try research. I wanted to try volunteering. And it was hard to manage these with my classes at first. So when I started doing this, my grades started to slip. I was really tired. I was barely showing up to places on time. And so I lost confidence, and I kind of felt like, well, maybe I can't handle this. If other kids are handling this and I can't, maybe this isn't for me. And I kind of got lucky because, well, we were in the COVID era. So all of my extracurriculars got canceled for a bit, and it gave me time to reflect and focus back on my classes. But I wanted to learn how to manage my time better because I knew that I wanted to start up my extracurriculars again. So what helped me was creating a to-do list, but planned out for weeks in advance. Look at the syllabus, the syllabi for all your classes, and write down everything that's going to be due, and treat studying like a job. And also caffeine, it helps. And then when I started doing extracurriculars again, I honestly could manage it better. So it seems scary to be shuffling jobs, research, student orgs, and classes, but I think you really just do adapt. As a freshman, I didn't think it'd be possible, but it's possible, and you get used to it. like a chem lab report probably seems so annoying and hard when you're first doing it, but by the time you're in orgo, you get a little bit used to the workload. So another thing is that I think what helps first gen students is that realizing people are interested in your story, because you might have developed a bit more grit, resilience, like maturity through your life hardships. You know, having to help out your parents, having to learn how to file taxes, having to probably work to support yourself or support family. You're getting maturity, you're learning how to deal with life inconveniences, and it sets you up for success in like other areas of your life, like work. So don't be afraid or don't hide that part of you. And if you actually go and do something to help others who are maybe facing struggles like you did, it makes it an even more incredible story, and it makes you like potentially be able to get scholarships. Like I can't believe I won a CST scholarship. And I think it was because I talked about how I grew up like going to soup kitchens and stuff. And so I started volunteering to give back. I wanted to give my advice to first gen kids. So I mentored high schoolers. And I think people really liked to hear that, and it helped out me with my finances. So I think just don't be afraid to share your story. And definitely you have to go out on your own to find connections, but it works out in the end. Definitely rely on the CST emails. I'm vouching for them.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Fantastic. So we can move right along. Nick, would you like to share?
Yeah, I'll kind of just sort of, I guess, go over like a little bit about sort of my journey here at Temple. As Jess already mentioned, I'm a biochemistry major, graduating in just a couple of weeks, which I'm so excited for. When I came into college, though, I came in as actually an accounting major in the Fox School of Business. And I remember like my first day here at Temple, like the first day moving in, I moved into 1300 in the residence hall, and I was like absolutely terrified. One, because I was meeting like my roommates for the first time. I'm also an only child, so like living with people was a whole new experience. And then I had really no understanding of what college was supposed to be, with the exception of like movies and TV shows that I've watched, right? So like I'm expecting that, you know, college is going to be this time where like everything's always fun, right? And like friends are always around, kind of like how it's portrayed in the movies, but it really wasn't like that at all. And what I found myself doing, at least for the first semester, was trying to do everything that everyone else did because I didn't know really what to do myself. And eventually I kind of learned throughout that first semester that just doing everything that everyone else does isn't productive, and it definitely doesn't lead you to a place closer to where you want to be, or at least kind of like accomplishing some goals. And so what I kind of realized what I had to do is figure out really what I liked. And, you know, that's actually, it's a lot easier said than done to really figure out what it is that you want to, you know, come here to pay money for, to study, and then to do later on in life. And for me, that was actually chemistry, and then later switching to biochemistry. And so sort of my experience was just, as everyone's already talking about, having those struggles where you're like, I feel terrible, like, what am I going to do? I feel like I'm not doing good in my classes. I feel like I'm not being productive outside of class. Like I don't, you know, feeling like I don't have many friends, but then just trying to get through that and to move on to the next thing. And for me, that's been clubs, I've tried research out, that's been tutoring jobs that I've had. And it was really a kind of just an evolution of trying until something clicks. And so eventually I found that I really liked biochemistry, and more than that, I really liked the medical field. And so I'm also in the pre-dental track. I'll be applying to dental school this upcoming year, which is something that I'm super nervous about, but you know, it's just another struggle you have to get through. And it's really just about progress and about, you know, kind of like taking the punches and rolling with it, and being creative and figuring out ways to overcome whatever you're feeling in the moment, and realizing that you're eventually going to get to that place where you want to be. It just takes a lot of time, especially for people like us who don't come from a family in academics or in college that attended college, that have college degrees. It's tremendously harder because we have no, understanding. I think Brittany made a great point in that, like, there's certain things that you don't even realize you need to do, but other people coming from other backgrounds already, like, that knowledge is already set. It's already there for them. And so for me on the pre-dental track, I had no idea that I needed to, like, gain, a couple hundred volunteering hours or like a couple hundred hours shadowing a dentist. Like, that just wasn't knowledge that I was familiar with. And of course you can look that up online, but sometimes that can even get distorted because you just have to trust whoever's telling you that information. And so I'm glad that there's resources at Temple that help you out with that. PPHS is a really great resource if you're on like the pre-professional health track. Of course, CSD Advising is a great resource. They know a bunch about anything that you're looking to do, whether it's industry, whether it's grad school, medical school, dental school. And so a part of it also is just trusting the resources that you have at Temple, right? I mean, that's why we have these resources in the first place, to help students kind of go forward. And so, with the Q&A section, I'll talk more about my experiences being a first-gen student, but really it's just about figuring out what it is you really like and just trying new things. And that's what I found works for me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. All right. So, Yao, would you like to take over from here?
Sure. Hi everyone. My name is Yao, and I am a senior chemistry student at Temple. And before sharing my experience at Temple, I just want to introduce a little bit about my background and how I finally here at Temple. So I graduated in high school in 2013 in Vietnam. And I went to College of Marketing, which I didn't like it. And then I dropped out after that. I only worked, and I started working at translator because I knew how to speak English, and people need that over there. In 2017, I came to the United States as an immigrant like Erin, and I understand her struggle when she came here because everything's just different. The culture shock. At that time I couldn't even speak a complete sentence because I don't know, my mind translate like Vietnamese to English and English back to Vietnamese. It was very tough for me to understand what people say, and I can feel the annoyance of people make when I say something that they don't understand, and it was really hard. But then my aunt told me about pharmacy. And at that time, I didn't really know what to do. Like, I don't want to just go to work for like 40 hours a week and that's it and have no degree. Like, I want to go to study to get a degree and do great things. So I was like, yeah, why not? Why not pharmacy? Because I didn't really know what to do else. So I started community college at a pre-pharmacy track. But then I realized that I really didn't like biology at all. Like, it was very tough for me. I think the first thing is probably language barrier, and it's just so many terms to remember. And I'm more a person of like math or like problem solving. So, and also beside than that, I came here with my mom and my sister, and my mom has to work 2 jobs to support us. And I thought, how can I have money to go to university? Because I can't work and go to school at the same time. So I had a thought that join the army, because my plan was doing 2 years active. So when you're doing active in an army, you're just on post or you got deployed and you still get paid. So after those 2 years, the pay money of those 2 years that I don't use, I can use to save up for Temple when I transferred to. So that was the plan. However, it didn't work out because I got injured during the training twice actually, and therefore I got medical discharge. I transferred to Temple after I came back from the Army in 2020. And then at this time, I still didn't realize what I really want to do. But at that time, I still hold on to the pre-form track to see what's gonna happen to me. I talked to Dr. Valentine right away when I transferred to Temple, and she gave me a lot of information about the program that CSC offer, the research lab for undergraduate student, URP, things like that. Also, a very important thing that I don't think other students respect that is career fair. So because I talked to people and they was like, yeah, I have class, I can't come. And I mean, this is only happened once a semester. I skipped my class to come to career fair. And at that career fair, I found my part-time job at Jefferson. And I was like, yeah, this is great because I can see how the environment of pharmacy is going to be. Am I going to really like it? I worked there and realized, no, I don't like it. It's so stressful. And then I landed my first internship on summer 2021, also through Temple Career Fair. Strongly recommend go to Career Fair. Yeah, and I found it's a R&D chemistry intern. So I work directly with the chemistry lab. And I realized at that time that I like doing research because I feel like I'm good at doing tedious work and like read paper to figure out the method, study about the theories, things like that. And after I came back from that internship, and I started my major classes, which is inorganic and physical chemistry, and I realized this is what I like. I enjoy doing this. I enjoy this material of chemistry. It's just amazing. And so I joined a research lab at Temple Dr. Bourget Lab. And I really like what I'm doing right now. Also, the purpose, like the long-term purpose is I want to go to doing PhD and then postdoc with chemistry lab with environmental purpose. So like sustainable material, like clean fuel, energy catalyst, things like that. And the lab I'm in right now is very similar to what I love. So yeah, I mean, if I wouldn't know about any of this if I didn't talk to Dr. Valentine or Dr. Rabella or even attend a career fair. Another thing is don't afraid to talk to professor because that's what I was when I was the first year when transferred to Temple when I was in Orgo. I did horrible in Orgo and I was scared to ask for help. I think one thing is because my culture, it's just different to, I don't know how to explain. It's just very hard for us to ask for help in Vietnam. So I didn't do that. But in my senior year, like I talked to all my professors, I came to all the office hour. And another important thing is you're gonna need recommendation letters. So create connection with professor, talk to them, ask them how they end up to be a professor, what they're interested in. And then when you really need it, like when you go to medical school or professional school, you're gonna need recommendation letters. And you couldn't find it at your last semester at Temple because no one gonna know you then. So start talking to them, emailing them. Also, like Brittany mentioned that it's very good idea to check the newsletter from Temple and attend like webinar or seminar to create more professional connection with people that in the same field or the same interest with you. That's it.
Great, thank you so much. So you guys all talked about some great stuff. I mean, you really covered, I mean, not everything, but a lot of the stuff that first gen students should definitely know. So here, I made a list as you guys were talking. So I'm gonna go through all the things that you shared. So things like taking advantage of resources. I know all of you mentioned some aspect of CST or PPHS somewhere in Temple. We have tons of resources, so definitely use those. And it's okay to not know. So you don't know what you don't know, and it's okay to be open and say, like, I just don't know that. A lot of times people want to help you, and they might even relate to you and be like, yeah, I didn't know that either. So another plug for CST resources. So I'll go down the list some more. Time management, making a to-do list and planners, definitely key. And using studying, or I guess like practicing studying as a job. That's an awesome strategy, 9 to 5, like it's your job. Going to career fairs, but that's more like CST resources, but definitely go. And use the professional development office, get your resume ready for that. And talking to faculty, that's definitely something that we encourage you to do in the seminars when you start. But you could just do it on your own too. If there's a professor you're interested in talking to, if they're doing research you want to do, talk to them about how they got to where they are. Yeah, so awesome. I think that was really something that resonated with me a lot, is not knowing what you don't know, because I felt like that's how I started at Temple. Like I just didn't know anything. And I jumped all around different majors. I didn't know who could help me. I didn't know what advisors were supposed to do or the role of advisors. And now I am one, which is kind of exciting. But I'm really happy to be able to bring your experiences to other students and sort of be that liaison that I didn't have when I was in undergrad. So I think we can move on to the question and answer section now. All right, so here's something. Does anybody feel like they've experienced imposter syndrome? Do you guys want to share? You can just unmute and start, and we'll just go in order of whoever unmutes first.
Yeah, I mean, I think to a certain extent everyone feels that way. And it's actually like a, kind of like us, nobody wants to acknowledge it, right? But like everyone to a certain extent feels that way, at least I do. And I really never was like, I didn't even really hear the term until maybe about like a year or so ago, when I was like, wait a sec, like I kind of feel like that. Like you just don't ever feel capable, and you don't ever feel like confident in yourself that you can actually, accomplish something or succeed in whatever it is that you want to do. And honestly, sometimes it doesn't even go away even after you have proven to yourself that you've succeeded, you've gotten the best scores, or like the highest, you're the highest in the class. Sometimes it even doesn't go away. And it's something that I think, it kind of depends on your background and sort of where you come from, and how it develops for you. But for me, it's always been that like school was, even in high school, was like my way of trying to sort of prove myself to other people. Like I was never really good at sports. I didn't really succeed in anything else except for school. And for me, I place a lot of my own self-worth and own value in like how I do in school, which is for better or for worse. You can take your own opinion on that. But really, I have found that like trying to overcome some of these thoughts that we have is really all about just talking it out with people, whether it be your friends, roommates, or therapist, counselor, advisor, whoever it be. Really like acknowledging it, and then like coming out and speaking about it and how you feel about it, and in terms of how it applies to you, is one way to like grow from that.
I love how you ended with a strategy to sort of address imposter syndrome. That's fantastic. Does anybody else want to share experience with imposter syndrome?
I can, because I feel like, yeah, I'll get better and then it'll come back because will be a new experience or something. But I also like would place a lot of worth on my academic performance. And even though I was doing, you can't get better than an A, I would find that a lot of my imposter syndrome came from like, I don't feel professional. I feel like I haven't grown up in a way that prepared me to interact with like professors, interact with researchers, like present stuff and feel like an intellectual or an academic person. I just feel like, I don't know, I feel different. And so that made me kind of insecure, especially when I would be in like my research lab and they would present using these fancy terms and I would be like, oh, that thingy over there. But what helped me, I think, is realizing you don't have to be the best. You don't have to be the most professional. You don't have to be at the top. You just have to show up and do well. If you're doing well and you're comfortable, like think about it objectively. You have good grades, you have experiences, you know that you have a good personality, you have a good story. If you have that, then who cares about comparing to others? And you have to really just focus on yourself, because especially in my field, in medicine, there is always going to be someone who's perfect, who's better, who's super smart. I see it at my new job, and instead of being like jealous or like, oh, why can't I interact with the patients as well as them? We just all have our own different strengths. So you got to focus on what your strengths are and really just try to be a better version of you than you were in the past.
I love that, being a better version of you, and you could like use other people's knowledge to build your own. That's awesome. Does anybody else want to chime in on this?
I just want to add a little bit because for me, I think because of the different age, because for me, it's kind of old for me right now to be as an undergraduate student. However, I think it's like everyone has their own path and everyone has their own pace. So seeing my friends who already have a job, already have a family, and they even have kids, and I'm still an undergraduate, and I don't even have my bachelor yet. Sometimes it's put me like, why am I still here? I haven't accomplished anything. But like their life is not like my life. Like I came here, I start everything all over again from the beginning when I was 22. 22 is the age when people are supposed to graduate. So my story is different than their story, and I just try to like focus on myself first. And the thing that's kept me doing what I'm doing right now is if I stop right now, like myself 4 years ago, which me to, I don't have to explain it. So like, how to say it? So myself 4 years ago wished to be myself here right now as what I accomplished. So just compare yourself to who you were from last year, from last month, to see what have you done. Just don't look over other people because everyone have a different starting point. So yeah, focus on yourself first.
Awesome. I like that. Focus on yourself first. So I went to a J&J session where they had like professional women in like professional roles or like higher up in like their organization. And so they were talking about how they even still feel imposter syndrome as like older like adults working in the field with like PhDs and like real like they're there, you know, and they still feel imposter syndrome. So they're talking about strategies they use is they will make a list of all of their accomplishments. And so like it can be hard to start that list, but once you start to think of it and like consider what an accomplishment is, you can see that list grow and like feel really good about that. So that's another way you can sort of combat it. But I love all of your strategies, not comparing yourself to other people, focusing on yourself and growing yourself from other people's knowledge. That was awesome. All right, so I think I have time for maybe one more question. We'll see how long this one goes. So I'm wondering, when would you suggest students start professional development? I know that's a really broad question, so I'll give you a second, but chime in whenever you feel like you've got an answer.
I think as soon as possible, because the person you are coming into freshman year is not going to be the person you are walking across the stage of graduation. And there's a good chance the career path will have changed. I came into college thinking I wanted to do biochem, I wanted to be a medical researcher, I wanted to be a geneticist. Like I wanted hardcore STEM, and now I am hoping to be a plant ecologist and go poke some moss in a bog somewhere. And that is peak happiness to me. And I would have never known that had I not just talked to people. I've always just been the person to just talk to the professors and been like, oh, can I come to your office hours just to come bug you? I just want to ask you about your life and how you got to where you are and what you're doing. And summer after freshman year, I got a job working environmental health and safety, which I didn't know was a field. And then I loved it and I fell in love with it. I did that for 2 years and then went, if I do this for any longer, I'm going to go crazy. I can't do this. And changed to ecology. And there were just all these little opportunities along the way. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to have research the summer after your freshman year. I got into grad school last November and I have 1 semester of research and that's it. That's all I have. And I had that after I got into grad school. So while yes, you need the professional development, you need to find a way to guide yourself to your path. You're not going to make or break your life off of URP, but it can help you figure out, kind of hone in on what you want to be and what you want to do. And anything that helps you reach that end goal, I think is a great idea.
I like that sort of holistic take on professional development. That's fantastic. Because it's more than just having your resume together, having a cover letter, having an internship. It's like, what do you want to do? You know, where do you see yourself as like a functioning member of society? Anybody else? Oh, go ahead.
I totally agree with Brittany. First of all, I would say to understand which major or which field you like better. As I don't know how to pronounce her, and she was saying about her path in choosing different different majors and all. So the first step is understanding that, and your interest will change over the 4 years, of course. And also, I have one advice is not to go behind what people say. There are some people at my church, they would say nursing is a good career option for you, or maybe med school. But I don't have interest in all those professions. So considering they might give you different options, you can consider them. But if your family member is a doctor or a nurse, that doesn't mean that you have to be that one. So understanding your passion for a work is what is important. I started and my Temple journey. I wanted to be an educator. That is still in my mind, but now I am so much interested in becoming a forensic scientist. I might end up doing the PSM program by Temple. So it is okay if you change your thoughts or your passion, that is fine. But you have to find what makes you happy. Yeah.
If I could add one more thing to this discussion, I think, yeah, certainly it's never too early to start, working on your professional development, but also realize that some things that you think are not professional development actually are. Like I had heard a story one time, I think actually Rose McGinnis had told me the story of a kid who had like planned to hike the entirety of the Appalachia Trail, which is like miles and miles long. And to plan to do something like that takes actually like a lot of character and a lot of organizational skills, a lot of planning. And I guess this had come up in conversation between, the student who had hiked the Appalachia Trail and a prospective like employer, and they just talked about it. And like that is still professional development because it's showing character to an employer who is, deeply interested either in like the fact that, a student can actually do that while they're maybe balancing like school and work and other things going on in their life. So almost everything you do can really actually apply to professional development. Now, that's not to say that you just can't do, some of the things that you have to do, because obviously, if you're trying to get into grad school, if you're trying to go off to like the pre-medical or pre-dental field, like there are things that you have to do, but there's a lot of stuff that you wouldn't think is professional development that can certainly apply. So kind of consider everything that you're doing and how it might influence your ability to apply to grad school, get a job after college.
Can I hop in on the tail end of that? Especially our generation, we have so many skills applying to grad school and industry that a lot of people who are interviewing us for those aren't gonna know. I know people who got their jobs in industry because they know Canva, which is a free website that gives you tutorials on how to use it. And they got a job, and like a nice job, because they knew how to use Canva. I know people who have gotten into programs because they were proficient in Instagram. And those are skills that like all of us already have a little bit, at least of. And so I think there's a lot that like we know that I think we kind of take advantage of, and we think, oh, everybody knows that, but not everybody does. Knowing Excel is wonderful. Knowing any sort of coding, wonderful. Not necessary, but if you know it, brag about it.
Awesome. These are really, really great responses, everybody. I appreciate it. So I have one more question, and I'm going to share my screen for this question. So I'm wondering what everybody thinks about Temple's new logo. What do you think?
This isn't an April Fool's Day thing, is it?
It is. It's an April Fool's joke.
God, I'm sorry.
I got so scared. I was like, this is fake Twitter. This is red Twitter.
Yeah, it's an April Fool's joke. I just
That
thought
was good. That was really good.
Thank you. Awesome. Well, I appreciate everybody attending our panel today. I thought I would end on a lighthearted note because I know that this can get really, I don't know, it's really personal. So I appreciate everybody sharing, and I hope you all have a nice weekend.